Welcome back to Man Down Sports. As you can see from the thumbnail, James Harden and Daryl Morey is the topic of discussion. Um, Evidently, James Harden was at an event and he said some things that was very eye opening. I think a lot of people was gonna be talking about this one today and for the days to come, and probably for the rest of the off season. So I'm gonna play for you what he said, and I'm gonna come back with my commentary. But before I do that, make sure you subscribe, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, hit that share button as well. After the video, feel free to come in the comment section and let me know what you think about what I said and what James Harden said as well. But once again, make sure you subscribe. That's very important. But here's what James Harden said.
Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of.
So you heard what he said. Daryl Morey, who's the GM of the Philadelphia 76ers, is a liar, and I will never be part of an organization that he is part of. That's very interesting because he ran from Brooklyn Nets to be a part of Philly mostly because Daryl Morey was there and they had been talking or tampering or whatever you want to call it. Daryl Morey had insight on the fact that James Harden wanted to be in Philly. So what made the relationship sour between Daryl Morey and James Harden? And it's probably the fact that they didn't extend him with a long-term contract. You know, he probably was expecting it. Leaving Brooklyn, that's probably what Daryl Morey probably told him. You know, we're going to extend you. So a brief history on Daryl Morey. Of course, him and James Harden were together in Houston with the Rockets. And Daryl Morey bent over backwards to appease James Harden when he went in the media and spoke about the Houston Rockets and James Harden. The type of things he was saying was letting you know how much Daryl Morey believed in James Harden and how much he thought James Harden was just a cat's pajamas, right? We know in Houston, James Harden had his way. Every superstar that Daryl Morey brought in that didn't work with James Harden, they royally let them go or sent them packing. They brought in Dwight Howard to work with James Harden. I mean, they kind of worked, but for Dwight Howard, it kind of didn't. Dwight probably wanted more touches, and they was going with a different system, especially with D'Antoni showing up. So Dwight Howard had to go, right? Then they built a team around him, and you got Clint Capella there as a live threat, right? That was working for a while because he was a young player. He was a young player up and coming. But once Clint Capella got to what he is now, where he can demand some type of contract, he probably was also demanding to be part more of the offense. And that didn't work for them. So Clint Capella had to go, right? And before Clint Capella even left, they brought in Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony didn't work. They sent Carmelo Anthony packing. CP3 came in. They got to the Western Conference Finals. They competed. But the personalities of CP3 and James Harden wasn't meshing. And of course, you got this pure point guard in CP3. They can't even play the point guard position exclusively because James Harden was doing it. So that somewhat didn't work, even though the team was successful. And even though they gave CP3 that huge contract, that was basically because we brought you over here. And if we get rid of you, we're not a contender anymore. So they felt compelled. They had to give him that contract. But it was the same thing like with what Golden State did with Jordan Poole. We'll give you the contract, but we know we're going to trade you. And, that's what they did. They traded CP3. Then they got rid of Capella. They went small ball for James Harden, had PJ Tucker playing the center. Nothing worked. And then, of course, Daryl Morey and D'Antoni, they get fired. And now James Harden wanted out. Gets to Brooklyn. Trying to make it work with a big three. Something went sour. I don't know exactly what it was. The media would tell you he was tired of Kyrie Irving. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's what it was because we know Brooklyn didn't give him an extension during the season, and Brooklyn wasn't giving Kyrie an extension either. So I don't know what was going on with that situation, but he gets over to Philly, and I think the promise was we're going to extend you long term. And I think at some point they realized What he's demanding as a contract, we can't give him. Not because we can't, but because I don't think his talent level is, at his age where it's at now, is worth it. Right. So now he wants out of Philly. Now Daryl Morey is not his guy anymore. Now he's calling him out publicly, saying he would never play for an organization that got Daryl Morey, which is strange because the rumor is he got Doc Rivers fired. So you show up over here. You got a great coach in Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers coached you to a top spot in the East. You're a contender. Joel Embiid's an MVP, but we get rumors that James Harden is complaining about how Doc wants him to play. Right? I don't think James wanted to play the way Doc was telling him to play, but he did it. Right? But that's why he wanted Doc out of there. So we got Doc out of there. I don't know who they wanted to bring in as a coach. Maybe James Harden wanted D'Antoni to come back in there and put that system back in there was all around James Harden and make Embiid fit into that. Maybe Daryl Morey broke that promise. He was going to bring D'Antoni back. Instead he brought in my guy, the head coach, Nick Nurse from Toronto. Brought Nick Nurse in, and that's James was probably like, that's not who I wanted. I wanted D'Antoni. So it's either who they chose as a coach or either the fact that he's not getting a contract extension. It's one of those things that Daryl Morey supposedly lied to James Harden about. Could be both of those things, but I doubt it's neither of them. It's one of them or both of them, right? Last thing I say about the whole thing is the person that the media has been telling us Kyrie Irving is actually who James Harden is. And I just think that's real funny, man. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section, man. Did Daryl Morey lie to him about who he was going to hire as a coach, or did Daryl Morey lie to him about giving him a contract extension? And then you think James Harden has a legitimate gripe, and would you want him on your squad? All right, I'll catch you on the next episode.